Hey everyone, and welcome to another Planet Coaster console version tutorial. This is the start of a 5-video series, a tutorial series that you can get on this channel. It's going to be uploaded over the course of the next couple of days, and I'm going to feature various things of the console version due to popular demand. We are going to start today with terraforming, and as you can see, I've already done a little hill here in the background, which we are going to talk about how you do it and what are the best tips to do it. But before we jump into it, here's the little hint. I'm also going to do a tutorial for coaster building. I'm gonna do a tutorial for pathing, for building, and a just general information video with a lot of hints, tips, and tricks how you are going to approach the controls the best. So this is going to come over the next couple of days, and the building will also feature nature, of course, because we all love them trees, don't we? Anyways, let's jump into today's tutorial. Alrighty, let's just first talk about the basics of terraforming in this game. So the first thing you have to note is that this game features a voxel-based terraforming option. That means you can push and pull the terrain to your liking in a full 3D space environment. You're not tucked to any kind of grids or whatever. In order to go and enter the terrain mode, you can see in the lower area of your screen you have these white tabs, and the furthest to the right is the terrain editor. You go with your R1 key on your Xbox controller or the dash button on the top right, which is the RB key, or the RB dash button on your Xbox controller. You're gonna open it over here. If you're there, just press X on your PlayStation or A on your Xbox controller, and you're going to open the menu. As you can see on the right hand side, we have a couple of controls. These controls help you to guide through how you want to build. So let's go first of all through these things here in sculpting. So sculpting is the free sculpt mode where you can sculpt the terrain to your liking. You have the pull tool, which I'm gonna quickly show you. Basically does what you expect it to do. It pulls out the wonderful terrain here. As you can see, the intensity is not quite well. So you can see down here there's an intensity slider. I'm gonna pull this one all the right to the back to the right side now. Just increase this a little bit. And now if I pull again, just by pressing X on my keyboard, or actually, oh well, you know, I'm pressing very hard. This is why my controller is about to die out. I really hope it survives today's tutorial before I need to recharge it. This is pretty easy. If we swipe one to the right over here, you can see there is a pull tool, push tool, and you're gonna expect that this does exactly what it says. Well, yes, it's gonna push back the terrain, but you can see I messed up a little bit the terrain over here, and you want to flatten that again to put on your building, your pathway, or whatever. The third option here is flatten the terrain, and that's kind of handy. You just go to the level that you want, and as you can see over here, I messed up. I want to fill in that gap again, so I'm gonna go to the outside where the level is exactly the height I want to have it. And once you're here, you press A, but you hold A down, and then you move your stick slowly above it, and you can see I'm going to flatten that all back. You know, if you just go slowly over it, you're going to fix the issue that you just created. Important notice, you may also see that the ground is changing color a little bit. This is something we are going to talk about once we have talked about all the different tools, but there is an option to make sure that you're painting in the exact kind of surface texture that you want. So keep that in mind. Don't be surprised that it does do the change now. If we go further to the tools though, we have the next thing is flatten to surface. It kind of works the same way as you've just seen with the flatten to foundation, but as the surface means, it kind of includes information about the slope of the terrain. So let's say we are down here and we press again, you can see there is no difference happening. That's basically because the foundation over here is perfectly flat. So it's a perfect 90 degree, 0 degree, however you call it, but there's no information about a slope, so it's not going to change. If we move slowly over here though, and we take this information here, let me just quickly show you, there's a kind of a heavy slope in here. If I hold down now the A button or the X button, depending on which console you are on, and I move this to the side, you can see it's basically sculpting from the exact surface tilt information that it got. So if I'm just going to pull that all out, let me just see. So there you can see it just completely perfectly took the information and pulled it over. In that way, you can create tilt surfaces if you want. So you can actually move that down, and we basically create like a nice connection here of the mountain, just making sure that that's a nice little area. So, you know, that's pretty simple, pretty handy. You can see how I do this. Real quick over here, it's not that big of a deal. It's actually really easy once you get the hang of it. For me, the hardest part, to be honest, is just like a very nice control with the mini stick, because I'm not used to it. I'm more like a PC gamer, so I think you guys are more console arrows, so you're way more used to that. If we go further to the right, the next tool is Chisel, and Chisel is kind of cool when you want to make sure that your build is a little bit more I don't know, adjustable and just gets a bit more character, so to say. So chisel is basically the same as you have in clay tools and stuff, or if you are working with rock at home, whatever, why you would do this. You know, if you're a stone mason or what, you know what it is. But the chisel basically does what you expect it to do. You can chisel the terrain a little bit by pressing down. It again takes the information of the slope you are in, and you can chisel the terrain to your liking. I kind of often use this to make sure that I get a bit more rough landscaping, and if I want to make the roughness a little bit more precise. One thing to note also, if you zoom in and out, the size of the tool stays the same. So that's kind of cool, because then you can get in and get a bit more creative once you get it more close, and you can sculpt this terrain a bit more precise. So as I go in, you can see it doesn't really have that big of an effect, because now the mini stick relative to the zoom level is obviously a lot easier. So if I'm all the way out, you know, the mini stick movement, as you can see, is quite heavy, and if you go all the way in, the same mini stick movement is just like a very subtle application of movement, and that way you can do some very detailed stuff. So it's really cool what you can do, and basically in no time. It's not that big of a deal. Now let's talk about the next tool. This is the smooth option. And the smooth option is one tool I think you might use the most, because that is kind of the little glue that makes your stuff look good in the end and makes things, well, as the tool says, smooth together. So I left open this lower side over here. As you can see, that's not really nice. You know, there's a little edge down here which we want to get rid of. And you can do this with the smooth tool. Just press down and slide over it, and you can see it starts to blend in the two areas here a little bit nicer. So it kind of creates like a smooth transition between both sides. Obviously you don't always want that, because if you want to make a rock facade or something look a bit more rough like it is over here, you're not going to use that. I'm going to show you some techniques how you create stuff like I did over here in no time, basically. That's it. And then there's the last tool, which, to be honest, is the sole tool I'm not going to really recommend to you guys, because I find it's a very handy thing for super casual players. But if you are watching this tutorial to become a bit better in doing some realistic terrain, or the terrain making to your liking, then you would potentially avoid that tool. So what this does is a roughen tool, and it kind of automatically roughens the terrain for you. Let's see if I can do something cool about here. Well, it's not cool, but you can see it kind of creates a bit of cellulite to the terrain, if you will. It just malforms the terrain in a very random way. And just to show you that it's random, I'm going to do it again, and you see it's not the same pattern. It's just the stronger you press, the more malforming happens. And it's not, you know, sometimes it pushes, sometimes it pulls. If you are lazy and you want to create like a rough area, this is maybe the way you go, but I don't want to really recommend that. Okay, so before we go into the next tab over here, which then is the painting, I'm going to show you a little bit more of an easy way to navigate through this, because like all this clicking to the left and right is pretty unhandy, if you ask me. It's not really the fastest way, and this is where the radial menu comes into play again. So what you do, you just press the Y button on your Xbox controller, or the triangle on your PlayStation controller. Hold it down, and this opens this wonderful circular module, and you can see this is all your tools in one place. So let's see, we want to have the flatten to foundation now. And there you go, we have the flatten to foundation, and I want to flatten back my terrain because I messed it up over here. One thing you will notice now, this is a little bit of pain of the ass, because it's quite a large area I have to flatten now. This is gonna get a bit time intensive. But now there is this wonderful option to change the size and the intensity of this brush tool on the go, and this is by holding down either the X button on your Xbox controller or the square button on your PlayStation controller. And excuse me, I'm always looking between my two controllers here to give you the right info. Hold it down, and you can see to the bottom right of your screen there's an info what you can do. So by sliding your mini stick to the left and right, you decrease and increase the size, which is pretty easy to spot visually on the screen. So we are going to make that like go all the way up, because we want to have it like really big, and then by moving it up and down, you increase or decrease the intensity. Cool bit of information here, this goes way quicker than if you do it with the navigation buttons, because it's just a lot more intuitive. And then you can just do it, and I've got 100% with this big one now. I'm going to search for my perfect spot here. This is where I am. And little hint, this inner circle is always the information of where the center point is, where you get the information from. So let's say I'm gonna hit this now on here, this will take the information from this upper level as you have just seen, and it just easily creates this platform for you. But we want to have this lower area here, so I'm going to click next to it, and you can see it always drags the information from over there. And this is now pretty simple, just like drag it all over, and you're going to create this lovely flat area in no time. So yeah, that's basically about the sculpting tools on the go, and now you've also learned how to just easily and quickly adjust the sizes and the brush sizes and the intensity on the go. So you never really have to look to the right menu if you are in. You can just go on sculpting with no interruptions, and that's kind of pretty cool. I love how intuitive they made this. Now, if we switch to the next tab, which you do with the dash buttons on top of your controller, RB on Xbox or the R1 key, and respectively the which is that the LB and the L1 button. Can I just have the same descriptives now? Oh my god, this is so annoying. Anyways, you can see we are now in the different menu, and again, same thing over here, and this is where it starts to be fun. If you hold down the radial menu now, it still gives you an option to change between the different options here if you want to go, but we are going to just have now the paint tool. So what you can do, you can change the different texture, and for the sake of this tutorial here, I'm gonna go with a little bit of a rocky mud over here, okay? I want to have some rocky mud. By the way, holding down square or X on Xbox controller is opening again the menu of intensity and size. And before we go really into making a little bit of painting here, let me just tell you as a little pro tip, because I've played that like quite a lot on my wonderful computer the last couple of years, and I would highly recommend to never ever use intensity 100% for painting, because if you have like around 60-ish%, maybe you're even lower, go like somewhere between 50 and 60%, gives you most likely the best results, because what happens is it isn't really blending in the full texture. It's still very strong, as you can see. It's quite strong, but it just doesn't completely blend it. And I'm going to show you the difference now. I'm going to push that all up to 100%. And now if I hold down, boom, it just completely shadows it. And you can see there's like this little bit of shadow going through. See how it's blended together here? That's the nicest thing about this. And now let's change that a little bit back. We are going even less. And I'm going to use my grass again. And I'm going to make also the size a little bit smaller. And now you can see how this starts to be in effect now. If I just simply press it, again, I wouldn't hold it down for too long, because just pressing it just gives you a bit of a minor application, and then it starts to look kind of cool. It just blends in nicer, and we just do it the same way down here. There you go, just pushing that a little bit down, and then you have this nice transition, and that looks kind of cool. And, you know, let's just also get some rock in here, but just lower down the intensity even further, because I just want to get some rocky bit in between. So now just doing it like that, and there you go. See, I just blended that in nicely, and it's not like super heavy. This looks kind of natural. I kind of like to go with that. It pulls out a little bit too far over here, so what you can easily do is go back to grass and then just, you know, start painting a little bit further in the front, just to make it blend a little bit less in. So there you go, and it looks even better now. Yeah, I quite like this to be a little bit less in the back here as well, and down here, so like this. And I'm going to show you now what happens if you do the same, but just, you know, use full intensity. I'm going to show you in the back. Let me just zoom out a little bit. So I'm going to use this side over here, just hold it down, and look how much of an effect it is, even though the size is very much smaller. So you basically never want to do this. Now the beauty is, if you unfortunately for whatever reason have done this because you didn't pay attention to the intensity, you haven't pulled that up, or it just happened by accident, you can easily undo this by holding down square. But then what you do is you don't press actually the mini stick, but what you do press on your arrow keys, you press the left button, and this is kind of undo and redo. You do see this actually when you are leaving all the menus and you're holding down square over here. You see all the controls now down below in the bottom part of the UI, and you can also redo it in case you say, you know what, I still want to keep that. So off we go. I can redo and undo by just clicking in. But beware, there's not an infinite amount of potential you can do. It's around 60 steps steps you can do and undo. So after these 60 steps, it's basically locked. It's kind of like in Photoshop or so, where there's a limited amount of cache that you have of things, while all my stuff is quitting because they don't like the stuff here. This is how it works. And then the last bit we need to talk about is actually the water, because the lake has to be done somehow as well. And the cool bit about this lake feature in Planet Coaster is, unlikely in Planet Zoo it doesn't work unfortunately, you can drag out water volumes pretty easily by just going in, and I'm gonna lower down the intensity and also making sure that this is, so you can see I'm with the tool now in the water. I'm gonna press X and drag it over here, and you can see automatically the water extends to the certain area. But let me just tell you, to make it a bit more simple for you to understand, while I just want to smooth this a little bit, smooth it a bit here, so just make these edges a little bit smoother, as you can see. There you go. Just nice and smooth. And what you can also do, you can go flat into the foundation and then find yourself the level where the water starts. Like I like to do this, to just go right below water level. See, you can see actually as soon as the circle goes above water level, this is where you don't want to be, but here, this is where I want to be. So now I'm gonna zoom out a little bit. See, this is exactly where it's blending in, and then I'm decreasing the intensity to minimum, and then what I do is just like press to make the water a little bit more shallow over here. Can you see? You can really see how that works now. And then what you can do also, you can do the same in the water, but then I want to have the size a lot less. So we're gonna go and search ourselves some like good level. I think it's kind of nice here. And then I'm gonna press again, and then you have the very shallow like little water side effect. So see, like this. And now to make this even more perfect, I'm gonna smooth this all, but I wanna have like a high intensity smoothing. Gonna do it like so, just gonna smooth this area, so I have like this lovely little bit of water arm over here. And I want to do some painting because that's water. We do need some sand. Do we have some sand actually? Let me see. Or is it all in the front? I think it's all in the front, right? No, it's kind of mud. Okay, well, we use actually dirt and mud, and then we're gonna decide upon that if that's nice or not. So just gonna do some, yeah, that looks somewhat like sand. I'm gonna go with that. That's fine. See, this is how you do it pretty easily. But this was with an existing area. To make a water bottom, it's very easy. You just go in here, use your push tool. I'm gonna create yourself a little hole, and then I would always recommend to use the flatten to foundation tool to just extend that hole a little bit. So that's what we're doing over here. You know, just create that little area. You can already tell this is going to be like a little pond. Can close that off in case you don't need this, and then you go basically here to the water thing, and you can see as soon as you go to the sides of this, there's a blue line appearing. Here you can see the blue line, and if this blue line appears, this means you can put in the water. So just let's do this. Boom, there's the water in this game. By the way, if you want to get rid of it, just press a Y on your Xbox controller or the triangle key. While you're on the water, you see this little inner white button appearing in your little cursor in the middle. Just press it and it's gone. Water is gone. You can choose between calm water, rough water, standing water, and dirty water. So calm water is the normal one, as you can see over here. The rough water is looking pretty similar, but if we go and look from the sides, you can see it's moving a little bit more. I'm gonna use now the calm water again. There you can see it's a lot more calm. There's no wavies going on in between. And then you have the standing water, which is a little bit more dirty and still has the water movement on. And then there is the dirty water, which has a bit of a different texture. There's just a very minor difference in between. One thing to notice though, it is basically a texture in this game. It's not a water volume. So if you go below, it's looking the exact same. So it's actually just a little texture, and that's also the reason why you can easily manipulate that on the go. But yeah, you can see this is how easy you do it. Now already guys, this was the basics about terraforming. Actually it's pretty simple. In case you still have some problems with it, just test around. It's actually like playing with clay, you can just play around, make your stuff working. And now we create like this little hill over here. It's pretty simple, and I always recommend to use different layers. So what you can do, build yourself different layers like that. Okay, so I have 3 different layers now, and then this is the one tool you always want to use: flatten to foundation. Make sure you use this tool as much as you can. My recommendation is just always use that to create stuff like that. You just go here, this is it, And if you want to create a little bit more of an you know, natural looking stuff, sometimes you can just flick the controller, flick the mini stick, you know, hold it down and just flick it to the right a little bit, and not that crazy as if I've done, but just a little bit, so it creates these bit more rough edges. And then what you want to do, you go just to the next level, just choose yourself from, yeah, let's say we go, this is why I said create yourself some levels, let's go here, and then you do the next level, just like that. And then if you want to do a bit more, you just go a bit higher, there you go, create the next platform. And then we obviously want to go all the way here. And I want to, let me just give that little nubsy here. I want to go a bit higher. There you go, create this next higher level. And just flick it over here, lovely. And then you can just press once to create like a bit more of a rough stuff like that. Lies. And then what I always do, I go back to the smooth tool. But the smooth tool always wants to have like a very low intensity, because you don't want to destroy the rocky face. You just want to smooth out some of the rough edges you don't like. So this is what I do over here. So pretty much as that, you know, it's really simple. And then you have it. This is how you start doing your stuff, and then, yeah, it's already kind of a mountain. If you want to do a spike, for example, as I've done over here for testing purposes, you can easily do it in two ways, you know. The first thing I think is way more easy to do is when you go to the push tool and the pull tool, sorry, you just increase the intensity also to make it a bit more easy for you, and then obviously start with the size that you like. Just press A to make it go up, and then once you are on the top again, you just decrease the size ever so slightly. You just press again. Make sure to always stay in the same intensity, because that helps you to make it somewhat similar. And then you just do it again, and then, you know, you always decrease the size. There you go, next level, and then do it all until you are at 1. So see, at the end, it's going to be a little bit more less crazy, and then you can do it with 1, which is giving you the smallest spike. There you go. Just going to create this last little bit, and then you've created this one. It's a little bit tilt because I haven't paid too much attention. So that's the way how you do it. Or what you can also do, but I find this always a little bit more complicated, you go back again to the push tool, increase the size a little bit. Let's go here, and then you push it out a little bit until you have a very steep little edge to it. And what you can do then, you can basically, let me just see, oh, this is the only tool we don't have in here, so the flatten to surface, and you go and search for yourself like a very steep angle, which I think is this one. And then what you will do, just go out, zoom out a little bit, and then you can flick it to the right hand side, just build that, drag that out from over here, you know, stuff like that. And then obviously you want to have the other side, and you just move it over and search yourself for like an angle that you are liking. I think this is kind of nice. And then you just drag it down from over here. You can do this for all the sides, like stuff like here. You know, this is fine. This is, by the way, whether it's not too easy to make a spike with it, this is the best way to create some nice little mountains if you want. This is what I always used to do when I want to create like a volcano-ish mountain, or like a bit more of a theme park-ish background for like a snowy peak or something. I want to go always do it like that, you know. So this is the easiest way of getting the right angles together. Just search yourself for the best angle. You know, go with this one. And then when you have this, you can start basically smoothing the corners out, and then you have this nice little rock mountain face, however you want to call it. So it's actually pretty easy to manipulate terrain, guys, in this game. I'm not gonna lie, it's very simple. But I want to end this tutorial, which became a bit longer than I expected, but I got a little bit more into detail. I hope you guys appreciate that. I made it as simple as possible. I really hope this was helpful for you. In case you've got any question about the terraforming, put it down below in the description, in the comment section. And the next episode will deal with the coaster builder, so I really hope that you guys are looking forward to that one. But for now, make sure to like, subscribe, and whatever, you know, I'm gonna make some more subscribers. I'm so bad. I'm so stupid. Anyways, guys, yeah, I'm gonna prepare some more tutorial for you. In case you like this stuff, please consider subscribing. That helps me grow the channel and gives you the notification when a new tutorial or another video is live for you. Other than that, I really hope you all stay safe, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Goodbye.